Thank you so much for the introduction, and I hope everybody today enjoying these sessions, the very interesting sessions of Big Five. Today, during the session, the upcoming session, we'll be talking about the future impact of innovation in the construction industry. We cannot overlook the mega trend and motives when we speak about such a topic. So I'm going to start my presentation with a quick recap about the mega trends and the motives we are facing today as an industry. Then we will go into membership and alliances that we seek, given the fact that we know we cannot face these challenges alone. Then we will go into a very interesting study that we had the opportunity to contribute to at the World Economic Forum, the 2050 Future of Construction, how the fourth industrial revolution will shape our industry, what are the extreme scenarios the world might face in the future, what technology will prevail, etc. Then we go back to reality and talk about what's the reality of construction today from a system perspective and technology perspective. Then we will go into what should we do about it. What should we do about it? I will divide it into three parts. I will speak first about how we can re-envision the infrastructure as a platform for human flourishing, how stakeholders can only measure the impact and the contribution of their action to SDG should they think system-wise. And we will close that part with a very interesting study that we contributed to as well, called Infrastructure 4.0, which was a joint effort between the World Economic Forum and the GI Hub, which is a G20 entity for construction and infrastructure. And here we will touch on the technology aspect and the system thinking coupled together as a proposed guideline and solution for all the challenges we're living, and as well as preparing our industry for the future to come. I will close my presentation with a CC journey, what we've done so far, how did we foster a culture of innovation, and I will tap into a few examples of startups and initiatives that we executed successfully. The fourth industrial revolution is one of the biggest mega trends our industry is living today. It's built on the third industrial revolution with combined breakthrough in many technologies like robotics, AI, Internet of Things, 5G, additive manufacturing, name it. All this led to the birth of the fourth industrial revolution we're living today. This revolution represents a fundamental change in every aspect of our life and the way we work. It's definitely a turning point in humanity and how it develops, empowered by advancements that leverages what took place at the first, second, as well as the third industrial revolution. The speed, breadth, and depth of this revolution has forced us to rethink how countries should be developed, how organizations should create value, and how people can benefit from this revolution. Other mega trends and challenges we're living today is definitely global warming. Living in Greece, I would say we're living the last 10 days a devastating catastrophic fires that have burned close to my house and many out of the green, beautiful regions in Greece, unfortunately. So global warming is definitely on top of the challenges and mega trends that we're living, unfortunately, today. Demographic growth in many parts of the world, and the JGC, the Gulf region, is definitely no exception, with many countries of more than 70% of the population below 30 years old. Investment infrastructure gap. What countries like or need to do versus what they can and the budget allowance. That's a big challenge we're facing today. And definitely COVID-19, despite the misery we lived with COVID-19 and we lost loved ones, COVID-19 brought a great reset that our industry needs to take advantage of. And many others. For the sake of time, we will hold it here for the challenges and mega trends. What difference could we make? As CCC, we thought if we were going to go that way and face all these challenges and take the opportunities that are embedded in the mega trends, we want to make sure that we can align and have impact against the Sustainability Development Goals, 17 Sustainability Development Goals of the United Nations. The first thing we realized that we cannot do it alone. No matter how large is the organization, the country, the public sector, the policymaker, etc., this is not an effort that a person or an organization can do alone. Accordingly, we seek membership and alliances with many reputable organizations that are relevant to our industry, on top of which I'm going to mention 4 today. One, the World Economic Forum. We're members in the World Economic Forum for more than 10 years now, and with many thought leaders and other leaders in our industry, we conduct studies, and I'm going to share some of them during the presentation today. We joined the United Nations Environmental Program. We are a very active member of the Global ABC, which is Global for Building and Construction. It's a United Nations as well organization or entity that was initiated as a spin-off of the 2015 Paris Agreement with a mission to align our industry with the 1.5-degree global warming 2050 compared to pre-industrial age. The Global Infrastructure Hub, GIA Hub, which is a spin-off of the G20 that is tasked to look at ways and means to improve the infrastructure and the construction in the whole world. And last but definitely not least, the OECD Blue Dot Network initiative, which is done to create a certification framework for all construction and infrastructure projects in the world in order to encourage investment, private investment, to jump in to balance the investment infrastructure investment gap existing in many of the developing world as well as the developed world. We could see that in the USA, tax had to be risen in order to compensate for the infrastructure agenda and budget of Biden. So not every country has that opportunity. Many countries lack that finance, and the framework is required to certify projects to encourage private investment to jump in, especially to the third world countries. The first study I'm going to share, so after the mega trends and the alliances we saw, I'm going to very briefly touch on a study. I'd be more than happy to share the full report after the presentation and distribute it. This was the outcome of 3 years journey called a 2050 Future of Construction by the World Economic Forum. And we released the report like 3 or 4 years back, which foresee the possible outcome of the current mega trend as 2050 and see how we can, as an industry, be very well prepared for possible future. We have designed 3 extreme scenarios that the world might foresee in the future. My opinion, this extreme scenario, none of them alone will prevail. A combination of all of them will prevail. So this also will allow us to prepare ourselves and understand what are applications on today, so our industry will work on in that direction. The first extreme scenario is building in a virtual world. Second scenario, factories around the world. And the third scenario, a green reboot. For the building in a virtual world, this is assuming that all the megatrend and technology for industrial revolution prevails and the world is a connected place. So here we will, technology like AI, robotics, virtual reality, will touch all aspects of our life and intelligent systems, and all that would run construction. So you can be sitting in San Francisco, having your coffee, and a project is in Tanzania, and it's being managed by robots, AI, etc. Based on that, we deduce a set of technologies that will shape, it's 10 category, I'm going to show it in later slides, 10 category of technologies that will shape this virtual world, which was a context for us to start our journey and see what would be the technology you want to tap into. Second extreme scenario, factories around the world. We know that we have a risk in the world for hacking, for cyber war. Even NATO, a year back, warned that second wars might be cyber war. So what if this, hopefully not, prevails and the world becomes a disconnected place where you couldn't have a connection that you like, despite the fact that all the technology we mentioned in the previous scenario prevailed? What if the world is not connected? Then the other option would be factory around the world. Everything is prefabricated in modular and inside a factory-like controlled environment. And then they will be shipped to site, and the job of the contractor will be only a puzzle, first a company that will make these puzzles and build the asset, the whatever it is. So this is another extreme scenario that prevail and that might prevail, hopefully not, but the world needs to prepare. And we could see now already many companies working in that direction as another option. A third scenario, green reboot. God forbid an environmental crisis take place, although we see many environmental crises taking place already. But I think the world that is not doing enough, I strongly believe. I mean, we didn't see companies and countries shutting down refineries and factories like we shut down schools during COVID-19, unfortunately. So shutting down schools during COVID-19 was much easier for the world than shutting down factories during the environmental crisis we're living. Anyway, assume the world wakes up and a green reboot takes place, and everything will be measured from green perspective. So it's not only quality, the best quality and the best price. No, it will be the first thing to be qualified for a project. You have to be eco-friendly, and not eco-friendly only for the way we do construction, but also what asset we're building, and during operation and maintenance to guarantee that this asset is eco-friendly. And so this is definitely a scenario we need to prepare for, and the report will detail it further. Back to reality. I don't know if our respected audience is familiar with the ancient Indian parable that speaks about the blind man and the elephant. This, as I read, is like 2,500 years back, where blind man or people with folded eyes who never saw an elephant before, okay, that's difficult in India, but assume so, who never saw an elephant before, with folded eyes or blind eyes, they're brought together to touch the elephant and different parts of the elephant. And then after they experimented that part of the elephant, they were asked, what did they touch? And each one would describe different objects, of course. One would describe a tree, one would describe a fan, a rope, a wall, a spur, a snake, etc. And every person would strongly believe that his limited subjective truth is the ultimate truth. And they would work, whatever they need to do, based on that assumption. I don't know why, when I saw this, I read about it, I remembered our industry. Not sure if this applies to our industry if we remove the part's name and put the stakeholders' names and some of the stakeholders, I couldn't list them all, like the designer, the contractors, the client, the operation and maintenance, the investors and banks, environmentalists, unions, government, suppliers, name it. What would they do? This is, to be honest, my opinion, that's the situation of our industry today. No one is looking at the whole elephant. Everyone is trying to optimize their part. We, as contractors, are trying to optimize our part, be as much as possible, live up to the challenges we have. We might overlook things that would be great for operation and maintenance for many reasons. Investors and banks would look at it from different perspectives, operation and maintenance, etc. And in my opinion, the only way for us to disrupt our industry and implement fourth industrial revolution tech at scale, not as R&D, would be to unfold our eyes and see the whole elephant. This brings me to what we should do about it. One of the very nice reports that was published by Cambridge Center for Smart Infrastructure and Construction touched on this area, but many other reports touch on this area. I would like to take some extract from this and as well as other reports and share it with our audience. We should, as an industry, re-envision infrastructure as a platform for human flourishing. This will be the answer for seeing the whole elephant, rather than each role alone. We should be people-focused while recognizing the fundamental role of infrastructure in the social, economic, and environmental outcome that determine the quality of people's lives. Second, we should think in system-based, recognizing infrastructure as a complex, interconnected system of systems that must deliver continuous service to our society. Infrastructure is not one asset, it's a set, neither set of assets, neither one system. It's a system of systems. And very good representation I like to see is that we have the economic infrastructure, the social infrastructure, and the natural environment. Well, the built environment connects all the dots, connect the three infrastructure environments in one. This is the way we should look, in my opinion, at the infrastructure. Talking about that, infrastructure link, as we said, the built environment, the natural world, and the human experience. And it's much more than just a series of assets. It's a system of systems. What does the system of systems do? It provides basic, some of the examples, I cannot list them all. It provides basic service to our homes. It gets us to where we want to go. It provides a place for learning and healing. It brings power and water to the places we live. It provides access to economic opportunities, education, and healthcare. And it ultimately works and acts as a service that improves our life. It helps us build a more, hopefully, sustainable, equitable, and prosperous world. And this is between quotes because this needs really working in the construction industry and can serve as a platform that focuses on outcomes that help the planet and its people thrive. And only then we can unfold our eyes and see the whole connected system and act accordingly. Also in re-envisioning, once we do that, once we realize that the system of system and realize that it's a service more than just an asset or a set of assets, it's not a school, it's education, it's not power, it's bringing electricity to homes, etc. How we see our world, once we as stakeholders from clients, suppliers, designers, name it, be looking at the same direction, only then we can measure the action and impact and how it contributes, our action and impact, how does this contribute to the sustainability development goals? Be it a new technology we're adopting, be it a methodology in management, etc., etc. That should be the perspective where we judge and quantify the impact of our actions. Having the system in mind, I like to share with you, I strongly believe one of the most interesting part of this presentation, I believe, Infrastructure 4.0. Given that the name or the title of the session is the impact of future technology on our industry. We have contributed to this report along with a huge number of experts and leaders in the world as part of the World Economic Forum, and as well as the GI Hub, which is G20 spin-off for the infrastructure industry. And the report name was released, by the way, it's like a year effort, a bit less than a year effort. It was released May this year, and I'd be more than happy to share it by end of this presentation. The title of the report is Infrastructure 4.0, Achieving Better Outcome with Technology and System Thinking. I guess we covered in the previous 3 slides what system thinking is and how we should perceive, or the infrastructure, how should it be perceived by stakeholders. So a holistic outcome-based framing for this infrastructure, when that is combined with the best strategy laid out in this report for improving the adoption of technology, then we can speak about what we call Infrastructure 4.0, which will live up to the challenges and utilize the benefits of the 4th Industrial Revolution. Talking about technology, we cannot but admit that had it not been of agriculture, we would be the worst industry by far in digitization. We're only ahead of our culture. And this affected us in all norms, be it productivity, the productivity norms of manufacturing or automotive or many other industries almost doubled in the last 50 years. In construction, it's still almost the same. Digitization, BIM requirement as a legal framework became in Dubai and UK in the year 2007, I think in UK, and the year 2013 or whatever in Dubai, I don't recall. While BIM is 40 years old methodology. So it's a response to even the 3rd Industrial Revolution was very slow from our industry. We want to avoid the same mistake and want to take advantage of the 4th Industrial Revolution. And to do so, we have to combine the best practices for improving the adoption of technology with the system thinking we discussed before. This report is not claiming to be the ultimate truth and that answers any question you have. No, it's just a recommendation and are meant to assist you as decision maker, be it from business, government, civil society, academia, environmentalists, etc., in working together to develop a better infrastructure. We have divided the recommendation into 3 themes. 1, creating a new ecosystem. 2nd, creating a new business model. And 3rd, building skills and education. And for each theme, we have set of recommendation. And for each recommendation, we tagged it in the report in 2 dimensions. 1, the level of implementation. Is this a recommendation strategic or tactical? 2nd, which sector it affects both? Most of the recommendation will affect all sectors, most sectors, but what's the highest relevancy? And we categorize them into 3, public sector, private sector, and civil society / academia. I'm going to take you through this quickly in 3 slides. And as I said, should our audience be interested, we can circulate this report afterwards. First, creating a new ecosystem. The creating new ecosystem is divided into 5 major recommendations. First, focus on the interconnectedness of nature, built and human systems, and treat infrastructure as system of systems. We covered this very well. Second, formulate approaches to prepare communities for a technological transition and provide engagement opportunities and assistance for those impacted. Third, encourage infrastructure asset owners and operators to set enterprise digital strategies. Fourth, develop digital commons and marketplaces for public data to facilitate the adoption of new technologies and the creation of innovation ecosystem. Fourth, which is for me is one of the most important here, engineering designers and other frontline infrastructure workers to innovate and scale up with ideas. Innovation has to come from the front line. We see so much innovation happening in our industry, but sitting in the office or the headquarters even. We want the frontline engineers, the frontline foremen to lead in that transition and adoption of new technologies. Second theme, creating new business model, which divided into 3 parts. First, frame infrastructure development as a platform to improve economic, environmental, and social outcome, as we showed before how to link it to SDGs. Second, design infrastructure procurement model to be more collaborative in nature and to optimize risk allocation, allocating it to the right party, while promoting full life cycle value. That's, for me, one of the most important points in this report. We many times see that the risk of adopting new technology is inherited by one stakeholder, usually the contractor. The contractor will be very reluctant. Not all contractors are very forward thinkers and risk takers. To absorb all that risk and try a technology that might fail. Had we had a shared risk business model when it comes to adopting a new technology, that would promote technology transition much better. Besides, we should have a full life cycle value. Contractors should not be allowed, or designer or owners, to optimize on the development cost by sacrificing emission in the operation and maintenance, by sacrificing gender balance maybe and accessibility to handicap, etc., etc. So there should be a full life cycle value during design, time taken into consideration. Third, reframe the cost benefit analysis for infrastructure development to include new types of financial and non-financial considerations, non-financial on top of which is the 17 Sustainability Development Goal of the United Nations. Third, building skills and education. This is divided into 5 major recommendations. Project industry needs into the future to understand the new or retrained role, teams, and departments required. Second, promote an impact-focused industry narrative that is matched by updated curricula to attract new generation of talent. We see many good universities that are still teaching methodologies which is ages ago, and are not incorporating the latest fourth industrial revolution in their engineering curriculum. Upskill the boardroom, very essential. At the end of the day, the boardroom will put major direction and approval in any company. So they need to be upskilled. They need to understand the value of technology. Build a technologically SABE field of study focused on infrastructure engineering and information management. Improve, last but definitely not least, improve skills and resources available to governments to narrow the skills gap with the private sector. This is summarizing the report in 3 major themes. Now I'd like to take you the last part of CC journey. How did we foster innovation, culture within the company? How did we partner with startups and what initiatives we took? For the sake of time, I'm going to share some examples. But first, I put in the middle of the slide a copy from one of the pages in the 2050 vision I mentioned in the beginning of this presentation, categorizing the virtual world 2050 and what are the 10 categories of technologies, starting with prefabrication to advanced manufacturing, to BIM, to 3D scanning, to augmented reality and virtual reality, to big data, etc. So this was when we developed that report with the World Economic Forum. It was published like 4 years back. We came back to CC and we said we wanted to democratize the process of collecting ideas. We dropped surveys to engineers, civil, mechanical, name it, all kinds of trades that usually are young in brackets of age, asking them to choose one or more technology and come up with an idea how this technology can be adopted within CC, where it will help us ultimately, what budget do they need, what help they need from us as management, and where do they want to go. So we approved a set of ideas based on this technology. And initially we had like 12 or 13 projects initiated based on the collected ideas that had to select, one or more technology from this list. Second, what we did, for each approved project or idea, we established a committee with diversified subject matter experts in order to promote innovation. And they were tasked to R&D this project, this idea, and take this project further. So here where we started heavily, having like 12 committees, studying 12 different projects and technologies and trying to adopt it. Very soon we realized that many of the technologies that we need to tap into are still not mature. Many of these technology, big tech miss today, and even that at the time we started. So we had to tap into the startup ecosystem. And here where things started prevailing. Why? Because we married the best of both worlds. We as contractors, no matter how, or infrastructure stakeholders, not only contractors, no matter how forward thinker we are, we still do the traditionalists to disrupt our own industry. While the technology or startups, most if not all of them, miss the domain knowledge. They're brilliant technology, ladies and guys, but they miss many times the knowledge. So having both a good idea sponsored by CC, Innovation R&D Committee, which has the domain knowledge of CC represented in this committee, and the startup together, this is where things start prevailing and where we made many breakthroughs that I will share with you later on and after this slide. For those where we succeeded with startup, we partnered and we developed a strategic partnership with many technology startups today, and which is known now to the media. And we didn't like to see ourselves as a venture capital. We're not doing investment for the sake of investment. We're doing investment for whatever relates to our industry and whatever will help us disrupt construction. Last but definitely not least, whenever any of these projects proved a return on investment, and doesn't have to be financial, it can be anything related to ESG 17 goals, we incorporated that as a success story in our construction methodology, and we adopted it as business as usual. Now, I'm going to take you through some examples very quickly. 3D printing, IoT, AI, sustainability, augmented and virtual reality, drones, healthcare, digitization and upskilling, etc. I'm going to start with the 3D printing. And here, back in summer 2018, we completed what was called the first 3D printed livable house in the world. Before the one we did in Saudi Arabia and Riyadh at the time with the Ministry of Housing, there was many structures being built in the world, but none of them was livable. It was more prototypes. So this one, 80-meter build-up area, completely 3D printed. was the first in the world heel to be livable. And of course, done in 3D printing concrete. Second, we realized that the highest cost was the material. We had to import it from outside the Gulf region. And now we even, despite the fact that manufacturers are producing locally 3D printing concrete mix, it's still at least 3 times more expensive than the standard concrete mix, which makes 3D printing not prevail everywhere. It has its own application, but doesn't prevail everywhere because of that cost. So we supported a startup in Lebanon to develop a high performance 3D printing concrete mix, which is very promising, and we're trying to take it to the Gulf region to reduce the cost and improve the quality of 3D printing concrete mix. Also, in 3D printing, we partnered with Imensa Lab. Used to be Dubai based at the time, now it's more regional. The biggest additive manufacturing startup in the region. Imensa Lab, we printed instead of printing concrete, why don't we print molds in polymer, reusable molds, and pour concrete as usual? And this was the first trial we did with Imensa, which opened so many potentials for us, because many times you need standard concrete and you have complex shapes. So that would be an ultimate solution. Also, with Imensa Lab, we did additive manufacturing for spare parts of construction equipment, where we took many spare parts, we reverse engineered it with them. They built the virtual warehouse, and then we reprinted them and reused them successfully. And we could see in this photo, for instance, the left side is sample of some parts that were 3D printed, and the right side is the original part. We look at ways to scale this up now. Also, printing additive manufacturing in civil projects, even polymer, not concrete. We're looking at architectural item like Musharibiyah in one of the projects we have. Huge area needs to have complex design, so that would be perfect for polymer. Also, GRC panels, chamfer strips, and many things can get use of the 3D printing polymer. Simply, you have the 3D model, you print it instead of casting it business as usual, which will cost a lot and time consuming. Internet of Things. In Internet of Things, the first trial we did also in probably late 2018, early 2019, was with Wake Up, where we deployed the first pilot in the region and the world, having helmets on 2,000 connected workers in 2 projects to monitor the workers in order to improve safety, time attendance, productivity, etc. This is a very promising, and still as a technology evolving, but we could already realize many benefits and more benefits to come. And having big data here, data stored for one purpose, you can use it for different purpose later. So having this wealth of information and monitoring the labor and staff every single moment of the day is second to none technology. Also in IoT field, we're experimenting with many startups now and technology vendors, sensors to measure actual compressive strength as well as early aging quality parameter of concrete. So this will help us determine concrete strength by time and provide real-time data to experts wherever they are in CCC in order to cover such applications. Very promising technology will be deploying very soon in the Gulf region. Also, artificial intelligence during COVID-19, we had many trials in artificial intelligence, like to improve on estimation, etc. But one was very low-hanging fruit was the thermal camera empowered by AI and integrated with back-end systems we have. During COVID-19, we wanted to bring everybody back home safe. So we needed, and they were queuing, huge queue in the morning for thousands of labor and staff to screen them for temperature, for mask wearing, etc. So we adopted a thermal camera with AI, and this minimized the screening time up to 90% and improved the accuracy to 99%. So you can imagine the benefit of that one. And people would walk in their normal speed while walking. It will screen them automatically without any queuing, which is very major. Who works in construction knows that we can have thousands of labor. So this reduced like an hour waiting in the morning, which is, believe me, too much money. And of course, like I said before, you store data from one purpose, used for another. Even that data now we can use it for health, safety, for headcount. It supports our timesheet and project control, security, etc. Renewable energy, this is the closest to my heart. Having the fires in Greece now, I think this should be on top of our priority. We took the environmental awards by many bodies, like 3 years back when we finished the first completely off-grid cabin with a solar and battery storage, lithium battery, that was done in 3 countries, Oman, in Qatar, and in UAE, whereby this off-grid cabin completely disconnected from any generator or the grid. They can be placed anywhere in the desert where temperature can reach 50 degrees Celsius, and then it maintains an indoor temperature 24 hours 7 for a maximum of 24 degrees Celsius, and plus appliances. Completely off-grid, completely renewable. This was an amazing project we worked. Also, we're applying the same on green desalination, especially for projects that are close to the sea. We have now something upcoming, hopefully in Tunisia, where we will deploy this. Augmented reality and virtual reality. Also, we experimented in one of our projects in Oman, a virtual reality technology where a 360-degree camera, wearable, passed once a day during the project, through the project cycle, everywhere. It can be different track a day, and then that could be compared to the BIM model live, and can be go back even in history. So this will help us in subcontract management, handing over NQC, variation management, progress monitoring, etc. Similarly, for augmented reality, where you have wearable for every person looking inside the site, and then overlay that with a BIM model, and this will help us a lot in real-time validation and clash detection. Drones, definitely, is a very mature technology. We use it a lot for surveying. We had some efforts for progress and construction monitoring, as it was not completed this part, but we seek to complete it very soon. So this is an amazing technology. The challenges are known. Weather condition, permits, it's very difficult to get permits in many countries, and training your staff. But once these 3 are solved, the benefits are limitless for such technology in surveying, progress monitoring for construction. Also on drones, cargo. If you have a project remotely in an island or wherever, or out of nowhere where you don't have trucks or cars commuting every day, then if you want to send small item, you can send it by cargo, by lifting through drones. So this is very useful. We seek to deploy it on one of our projects very soon. Healthcare, during COVID-19, we collaborated with the World Economic Forum and MIT professors for what's called the Cura project, and we developed the one IC unit, completely done from inside a shipping container, which can be puzzled in many shipping containers and can be mobile. The whole idea is that you can move hospitals wherever you need and deploy fast. So this was very successful. We look at partners to scale this up as well. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be at the Big Five always, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and now we're open for questions.
Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for your insightful presentation, Arif. Hello to everyone who has joined us today. This is Manali from the Big Five team. Hope you have enjoyed the presentation. We have some interesting questions which have come in from the audience for you, Arif. Should we get started? How can cash-strapped construction firms be convinced of the long-term benefits of innovation?
Very good question. Thank you, Manali, and everybody in Big Five for organizing this. Well, the question I can reverse the question. If we're not cash-strapped, would we care about digital transformation? Maybe yes, maybe not. Some would. When we're cash-strapped, we all care about that because it's a necessity more than ever. And this is where leadership is needed in the construction industry. So every contractor is responsible to take this step forward to survive, at least, because we have to improve our cash margin, as said, and we have to align with ESGs. Nevertheless, it's everybody, as I said in the beginning of this presentation. It's a collective effort from policymakers, developers, clients, engineering firms, construction. So it's not one stakeholder is expected to do it alone. here where we need everybody to step and help. It cannot be only the contractor responsibility. And I can refer to, for instance, one of the policies that were released, or the regulations in California a few days back, enforcing on all developers to issue some requirements for contractor engineering, whereby shifts can be done easily later on during operation and maintenance for a house, from fuel to gas or renewable energy. This is an example where policymaker can step in and enforce regulation that will help or push our industry to move forward. So it's everybody, it's collective measure. It's more than ever necessity today because we're cash strapped.
What potential do you see in technology for a successful construction business, especially when we talk about recovery and growth after the pandemic?
Well, I think the pandemic, despite the misery it brought, we lost loved ones. It brought, as I said in the presentation, a great reset with it. This presentation might not be taking place 2 years back had we not had the pandemic. So the pandemic is an opportunity for contractors to realize that there's so many things that they thought, and everybody, not only contractors, that they couldn't do, and suddenly they realize we can do. We can work from home. A big percentage of our staff are working from home during COVID. So that's just a small example. When it comes to technology, the potential of tech, it's limitless. And I wouldn't repeat what I said in the presentation, but I would highlight two things. The technology has to be people focused. It has to be to realize the benefit and impact of technology beyond cost, schedule, and quality, to align with SDG. And we have to look at the construction industry or the infrastructure industry, but I said, from a system perspective, as I said in the presentation, for us to realize the impact and the added value of tech.
Okay. We have just received this question from Abbas. 3D printing opens creative designs. What are the regulations on structural components in 3D design?
Well, there are so many debates happening now when it comes to structural elements of 3D printed objects. Many claim, many startups, and we've seen some claiming that many things can be done, but still many other stuff when it comes to structural design needs to be done the conventional way. That's why when we have complex shapes, one of the things we thought of in CC, and it was, I think, the second use case I presented, is to use 3D printing, not to print the concrete, the final object when it comes to structural element. One way of doing so is to print the mold, 3D print the mold, a reusable mold, where we can pour concrete and whatever structural requirement is there can be satisfied. So this is one way of using 3D printing combined with traditional methods, satisfying structural requirements.
And can we use 3D printing in high-rise buildings?
3D printing nowadays, I wish the answer would be yes or no. The answer is where can you use 3D printing? It's not yes or no. Now we can see 3D printing can be used in many places in high-rise building, but we cannot simply shift to 3D printing. So the added value of 3D printing, as I said, it usually prevails when it comes to complex shapes in architectural design, when it comes to finishing, fit out, to urban furniture, to architectural elements. All this in high-rise building can be not only done in 3D printing, sometimes it's even more cost effective. Okay, can everything be done in 3D printing? Some like villas can be moved to 3D printing, but when you do everything, sometimes it's still not viable financially. While it's technically feasible, it's financially not viable. So the answer would be where 3D printing prevails, and this is the name of the game when implementing it.
Okay. With everything you discussed today, what focus or technology innovation do you think will be most beneficial in the near future, especially for quality-centered companies?
Especially for quality, excuse me?
Centered companies.
Okay. Well, when it comes to, as we said in the presentation, there are three scenarios. I would take the first one that might be more relevant to the virtual world. Everything that now we can use robotics for, usually the accuracy improved. Whenever you use molds for construction 3D printed, then the accuracy of the shape would be much higher than doing it manually. So the 3D printing is one of the technology that would help definitely in improving quality, but it's not only everything. When we use drones for surveying, for instance, the accuracy of surveying and the speed the surveying is done using drones is much higher and much faster than the conventional method. So each and every technology that we, from IoT to 3D printing to virtual reality, would improve ultimately. We've seen, as I said, one of the startups we're exploring now is that you can walk inside a project and generate the 3D build-up from around you, and then someone can be sitting back in Athens while the project in Saudi, and virtually checking the quality of what was built versus the BIM model, what was supposed to be built. So this also improved the quality, and we can do walk downs using that approach. So each and every technology, it's not. I wish the answer would be the technology itself. We say like 3D printing or AI or robotics, etc. I don't know. It's the application of that technology. Technology is an enabler. It's not an end by itself. It's a mean to reach that end. So the use cases I shared are some of the examples. I'm sure many others have other use cases where we can apply specific technology to add a value, be it in quality, cost, schedule, or even aligning with sustainability development goals when it comes to environment and others.
Okay. How do you look at the construction industry in the next 5 years?
Well, the last 5 years were very promising for the construction industry, but I'm a positive. I look at it very positive in the coming 5 years. Let me start first in the region, in the Gulf region, why I think it's going to be very positive, and then we zoom out to the rest of the world. Well, in the region, it's one of the highest demographic growth area in the world. Like Saudi Arabia, I believe 70% of the population is less than 30 years old. So like 5 million housing is required in the coming 10 years to be built. So you need more infrastructure, you need more housing, you need more hospitals whenever the demographic growth increase, and our region is no exception. The oil and gas, which is still a major and will remain a major economic factor in the region, in the Gulf region, will generate many infrastructure projects, be it to maintain the existing plant facility, or be it to build a new one to maintain certain volume. And definitely, when it comes to the Gulf region, the construction is still one of the biggest industries besides oil and gas. So this on the coupling that with the fact that we had slowed down in the last few years, be it for economic reason or COVID reason, and releasing a new project, like many countries, they wish to release in 2020 from every 10 projects, they only release 2 projects. We know that for a fact in some countries. So many projects are in the pipeline waiting to be released. So in the region, worldwide, unfortunately, a big percentage of the population in the world still lack decent housing. Some statistics, I think, by United Nations show that 1.6 billion people lack decent housing. Like 10 or 8% of that, like 150 million, are completely homeless. So there's so much to be done in infrastructure, but here brings back to the challenge of the investment gap we talked about as one of the challenges we're living today, and this is what tapping in, name it PPP, many now model for the private investment to jump in, and this one of the study we're doing with OECD now to develop a certification mechanism to encourage private investment to jump in many countries in the world to fill this investment infrastructure gap. So the outlook is very promising. The speed of that, we will see how it will go. We'll watch it.
All right. Do we have any more questions, audience? I think we'll just give it a few seconds to see if anyone sends anything. All right, I think we've covered everything now. Thank you all for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you at the Big 5 live in-person event at the Dubai World Trade Center in September from 12 to 15. Thanks again, Arif.
Thank you,
Goodbye.
Manali. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Goodbye.